everybody! So today I have the exciting opportunity to talk to you about the latest Walt Disney animated classic in their canon to come out. This is their 55th animated film, and it is called Zootopia. And Zootopia is directed by Byron Howard and Rich Moore, and it is about a bunny named Judy Hopps who lives in a suburb, I guess you could say, of a big city called Zootopia. She lives in this, it's called Bunny Borough, I think, and her parents are carrot farmers. But Judy always dreamed of being a police officer. Is that not only are bunnies never police officers, most of the police officers are what are called predator animals, as opposed to the prey animals. And this is sort of an evolved society. It's an anthropomorphic society with animals doing things that humans would do. There's no humans in this world. It's all animals. And the animals have evolved to the point where they're living harmoniously together, whether they're predators or prey. They have never had an officer, a bunny, and they've never had an officer that's a prey animal like a bunny. And part of that is just because the prey animals are usually much smaller than the predator animals, are much bigger. One of the really cool things about this movie is they set up this world where there are these stereotypes and these preconceived notions of what a predator is and what a prey is, and people on both sides have these stereotypes of both sides, which I thought was really interesting. And there's sort of this dream of Zootopia, of being this sort of utopian society where the prey and the predators live peacefully. Judy fights through all the training and everything like that and becomes a police officer. Well, it turns out she is kind of promoted because even though she does really well in the program, she's promoted also because of sort of an affirmative action type initiative that the mayor, who's a lion, has started to encourage minority participation in things like the police officers. So she is kind of not respected by the other officers, including her boss, Chief Bogo. He doesn't really like her. He doesn't think she's worth his time. He puts her on as a meter maid, giving parking tickets. And she ends up finding out there's this problem that's been happening where 14 different mammals have turned up missing, and they're all predators. And they are investigating it, but he won't let her in on the investigation. But she ends up meeting this fox named Nick Wilde, voiced by Jason Bateman. And he is this con artist, this con man, and it turns out he has some information that could be helpful for finding particularly this case. And so she presents it to Chief Bogo, and he gives her 48 hours to solve this case, find this one of the missing 14 mammals. I don't give any more away, but it's really amazing on so many different levels. Like, just the world building is incredible. I mean, in Zootopia, you have not only just sort of a normal city that looks, with monorails and stuff like that, but you have these districts that are so creative. Like, they have Tundra Town, which is like a winter polar bear kind of place, and they have Rainforest District, which is of course for the rainforest animals, and all of that going on, which is really cool. And it zips through these different, there's Rodentville, which was so clever, I thought. And then you also have these layers. So you have the layers in the setting, but then you also have the layers in the messaging, which I thought was really good, because on one hand you have this great story about this character that will not give up, that she repeatedly is told she can't do something, and she will not give up. She keeps fighting, she keeps doing the best that she can. In addition to sort of her message of not giving up, you see this other message of these sort of stereotypes and these prejudices that between the people prey and the people, the predators, and how they affect the way the different animals look at each other. And even if it's done sort of with good intentions, it still is Prejudice. It still is. And nobody's perfect in this movie. There's not a paragon of virtue. I also thought the way that they use fear to control people and sort of the commentary on that was really, really good also. And how you can manipulate people if you get them to be fearful of other people that are different. So all of those things were so good, and it wasn't like a Ferngully or something like that where it's kind of preachy. This was much more sort of woven into the story in a way that made the messaging really, really moving and effective, I thought. And you also have just super likable characters, and I think that's one thing that makes the messaging more tolerable, as opposed to, say, like a Norm of the North, where the messaging, or a Lorax, where the messaging is so heavy-handed and you have these characters that I didn't like, and so the messaging is obnoxious. But in this case, I really liked all of these characters. Judy is so likable. You're rooting for her. She's vulnerable. She's so small. And I love how they did everything to scale. So she looks really small, compared to these rhinoceroses and these bears. And if you think about other anthropomorphic films, they tend to all sort of be around the same size. Going into it, I was expecting it to be this uproarious comedy, and it's really not. It's not like hilarious, but there are definitely some good jokes. It was cool the way that Disney was willing to poke fun at itself, and I definitely can see some of Rich Moore's Simpsons background coming into play with some of the humor. You have little things like they do in The Simpsons, where we'll have like a movie sign that has a joke just in the background. You kind of had that here too. Like you had a lot of sort of background jokes, and there were actually a couple pretty funny jokes about Frozen. There were, a couple other funny things that were there. That was nice because it was a nice break from some of the more tense aspects and some of the more moralistic aspects of the story. So it just made it all kind of work. As far as the case and the investigation, there are some tense moments. There's some scary moments with these animals that become savages, and they're trying to figure out why are they becoming savages. I think if your kids can handle Big Hero 6 or can handle How to Train Your Dragon or some of these other movies, I don't think it's any much more scary than that. Some jokes that probably the little kids won't get, but I don't think it's because they're like super tawdry, like a Shrek or something like that. This is jokes that are just sort of a little more subtle that might go over a kid's head, but I still think there's plenty for kids to like as well. And there are emotional moments. There are moments that are sad, but not overbearingly so. I don't have anybody die in this movie. Judy Hopps has two parents the whole time. This is really shocking. And you get a really nice chemistry between Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps. You can tell that Jason Bateman and Ginnifer Goodwin, who are wonderful in their roles, you can tell that they did sound recording together because it just has that kind of chemistry. It's kind of like Tim Allen and Tom Hanks, Buzz and Woody, they do that as well for their roles, and you can kind of feel some of that chemistry between the two characters. And I like that Nick he's somewhat of a predictable character. We've certainly seen his character before, but I think it's executed very, very well. And there are things about this movie that are we have done this before. We've obviously done buddy cop movies, but like everything about it is, as far as the setting and sort of the messaging and the design, the character design, everything are so likable that I didn't really care that the plot isn't the most original thing in the whole world. I guess the only other thing that I would say as a critique is that Shakira plays this pop star named Gazelle, and she's kind of not needed in the story. I don't know. So she's kind of a waste, but she's not in the movie that much. So it didn't really bother me. So other than that, I thought all the other voice talent was excellent, and it just the animation is beautiful. I just think this movie has something for everybody. I can't imagine somebody not liking it. I mean, there's one reviewer on Rotten Tomatoes who doesn't like it, and her review is so ridiculous. I mean, I respect anybody that might not like this. Fine, you can have different opinions, but her review is really nonsense. She says that because there are animals, that it's somehow offensive for them to be teaching a lesson about diversity. That somehow demeans the lesson. Come on, give me a break. So I totally don't think that's a valid complained, like, why can't animals teach lessons? Like, I mean, didn't we learn things from Bambi? Didn't we learn things from Dumbo? Along with other animals? That's just nonsense. So, other than, I really can't imagine. I just feel like this movie has something for everyone. It's just so likable. It's funny. It's sweet. It's beautiful. The setting is so inventive and creative, and it's heartwarming. Let me know what you think of Zootopia when you get a chance to see it. Put it in the comments section, and thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll talk to you later. Bye.